This is Fearlessly Fertile. Welcome to the Fearlessly Fertile podcast, episode 344, Quit Lying. The top 5 lies that we tell when trying to conceive and why they will slam the door to your nursery shut. Hey loves, I'm so excited to be back here with you this week. And I know you hear that intro and you're saying, Roseanne, them are fighting words. You're calling me a liar. I'm calling you a liar from a place of love, because we get so caught up in our stories on this journey. We get so caught up in our thought ruts that we don't even consider the possibility that we could be way off in our assessments on this journey of what's real, what we're actually doing. I hear women fooling themselves all the time, and when boom, snap them out of it, they're like, how the fuck did I even do that? Why did I keep doing that? How could I have believed that for so long? We're doing an expose, ladies, on the way that we lie to ourselves on this journey. The sooner you wrap your head around this from a place of love, not from a place of judgment, the more quickly you can free yourselves from the clutches of your own internal deception. And that's something that I wanted to start us off with, because we think that other people lie to us on this journey, but nobody will deceive you in a more effective and profound way on this journey than you. This is so important because you hear me say the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. That is truth. You know truth to your core. You can feel it. But when we get off in a ditch and we find ourselves trapped in our own internal deception, we will derail ourselves from that truth and start believing the lies that our sabotage pattern will tell us about what is possible. If you haven't figured it out yet, the fertility journey is all about growth. You think you're just having a baby. You think you're just birthing a baby. You are, in fact, in a practical reality, rebirthing so many aspects of yourself, because who you are when you start this journey is absolutely not the person that you can be at the other side of it, which is why doing this mindset work is so critically important, because you having your baby is not only another chapter in your life, it is the beginning of a new chapter of your own personal evolution. You're not going to be the fucking same. You know too much already on this journey to be the same, but you have to take that across the finish line and really allow yourself to take all the lessons this journey is giving you, integrate them so that you can walk the rest of your journey as the woman who thinks, believes, and takes action like a woman who succeeds. Every single woman who has showed up on this podcast and who will in the future had to make the decision to evolve, had to make the decision to be more fearless, more fertile than she had ever been, probably in a way that she hadn't anticipated, and is now holding her baby because she had the courage to confront the deception that was controlling her fertility journey. So we're going to dig in to this and really give yourself an opportunity to be the badass that can tell the truth, and not from a place of criticism. We think, oh, telling the truth is just about beating yourself up, torturing yourself for how you have been. Not all truths have to be hard. This truth-telling session that we're doing here is really an invitation. It's about finally letting go of the things that are fucking making this journey hard. Every single one of the lies that we are going to dissect here, the longer you live by them, the harder your journey is. Buckle up, baby. Get something to write with and write on. Chances are you're going to want to take some notes. And listen to this with an open heart and with the kind of humility that says, hey, you know what? I might not know everything. And that may seem obvious to you, but it's not so obvious when our patterns are running the show. And if you're living by these lies, your patterns could be keeping you from getting pregnant, mama. Let's do this. So the first lie that I want to share with you is something that we talked about in episode 342, but I think it's really important to reiterate it here. And that lie is, I'm too old. I'm too old. I can't be a mom. It's too late for me. Blah, blah, blah. That whole miserable line. I'm starting with that lie because the fertility world is rife with it. Everyone wants to talk about how you're too old. The reason why this lie will slam the door to your nursery shut is it presupposes that because you might be quote unquote older, that you are somehow of less capacity. You're not as healthy. You're going to be broken down. Your kid's going to be 18 and you'll be dead. I mean, like all kinds of crazy, dumb shit. When we know that it's still young to be in your 60s when your kid is 20 or 25. Like, who cares? All right. The people that are going to tell you that you're too old are probably people that are using that same lie and the same excuse for a shit ton of things in their own lives. Those are other people's limitations. We know, as I discussed in episode 342, that 40 and 50 today are not what they were 50 fucking years ago. Quit using this completely inaccurate and antiquated yardstick for what you truly want in your life. Anyone who's saying you're too old or it's too late, fuck them. They don't know what they're talking about. If you see like all the moms running around in their 40s today, they're energetic, they're bright, they have just an enhanced sense of purpose, and they're so excited to have this time in their life because they're creating a life of having it all. The career they want, the love they want, the wealth they want, the baby they want, and they're not living by other people's limitations. I'm too old is a fucking lie. There are women who are making being mothers in their late 40s and early 50s fucking normal. And I'm one of them. 51, almost 52, baby. And I'm not slowing down one bit. I'm just getting started. So if you need to borrow a cup of my faith when it comes to age, here's a scoop right there. Let's talk about the second lie that we tell ourselves that will absolutely slam the door to your nursery shut. And it's this: I don't need any help. Or I have too much help. I don't need more. Look, the reality is, you cannot deny this. The first place we go on this journey when we are struggling is the physical. We will do every diet, treatment, lotion, potion, spray, vaginal steam that we can get our hands on, thinking that the answer is physical. And you're going to say, I'm doing all these things. I don't need help with my mind. I don't need help with how I'm living this journey. Really? Look around. Because if you're only attending to the physical, you are missing half the battle, half of it. How many fertility doctors have come onto this podcast readily acknowledging the role of mindset? In fact, there's more and more studies coming out. We see this in athletes. We see this in men's testosterone levels. Like there was an episode of some podcast I was listening to not that long ago, and they were talking about how the role of how men saw themselves specifically as athletes, whether they were a fast runner, slow runner, had a direct impact on the testosterone they were producing. So what is that? Mind-body connection. If you're telling yourself, I got this, I don't need any help, this mental stuff, I'm just going to read some book on this and that's going to do it, or I'm going to listen to a few podcasts. Think about what we talked about last week in episode 343. Are you fucking all in? Are you all in? Are you leveraging the power of the mind-body connection? Are you taking care of the double binding message that your negative mindset is going to give to your body, that you are only feeding organic food and on a low histamine diet or all this crazy shit? You're doing all these expensive treatments. Seriously. If you are spending a shit ton of money on treatment and you are going in there raw dogging it, not doing anything about what's going on in your head, I'm sorry, mama, you're a fucking fool. And I say that with so much love as a woman who spent years on her own fertility journey, completely neglecting what was going on in her head. Now, I know that you may say, oh, well, there's tons of women that are going to go do all this IVF and they're fine. You know what? That's them. That is them. But if you're doing all the things and nothing is working, what else do you need to be told in order to take a second look at what's going on in your head? How much more evidence do you need that what you're doing isn't working other than your own result? So this whole lie, I don't need help, I don't need to be better, I don't need to learn more, that's the mindset of a fucking loser who is going to slam the door shut to her nursery. Ladies, ain't no one going to save you but you. And that is a skill set. So if you're telling yourself, I don't need help, I don't need to work on that, look at your results. Your results are going to tell you the truth that will counter that lie. There is nothing wrong with getting help. And in fact, the smartest women out there ask for it because they recognize that trying to conquer this thing on their own without knowing exactly how to do that, because what your brain is going to do is go back to pattern recognition. It's going to go back to the cycle it's always known. Fear, doubt, negativity, jealousy, comparison, and thoughts of giving up. That's not all in. That's not all in. Don't slam the door to your nursery because you're living the lie that you don't need help. Now, the third lie that we live by on this journey that will slam the door shut to your nursery is, da-da, it's too expensive. If I had $1 for every time I heard women bitching and complaining about what being on this journey costs, I'd be doing this podcast from St. Bart's. And one day I will be in St. Bart's recording this podcast, putting it out in the world, because here's the deal. There is nothing more expensive than regret. I hammer on this because it's one of the most atrocious lies out there. It's too expensive. So let's talk about what's actually expensive. Let's talk about you being exactly where you are 10 years from now. Not a damn thing has changed because you wouldn't make the investment. You wouldn't do the tests. You were waiting for your insurance company to cover it. You were doing all this dumb shit that people who aren't actually all in waste their time bitching about. Oh, my insurance won't cover it. Nah, whose responsibility is it for you to get what you want in this life? Your insurance company's? No, your fucking insurance company is out to jack you at every turn. They don't want to spend a dime more than they have to. Seriously, if you're going to let what an insurance company decides determine whether or not you're going to have a baby, you got bigger problems. You got to ask yourself, seriously, go back and re-listen to last week's episode. Do you really want this baby bad enough to win? I doubt it. I doubt it. And it's time to be honest about it. If you are stuck in the lie that it's too expensive, project yourself out 10 years from now, and not a damn thing has changed. Where are you going to be? You're 10 years older, no baby, and probably coming up with all kinds of justifications for why you didn't go the distance. It became too much. It wasn't for me, all this nonsense, which we're going to get into more in a little bit. But there's nothing more expensive than regret. And there are mofos out there who will drop 80 grand on a brand new truck and will spit their coffee because they hear that they have to pay for their own fertility treatment. This is your life. And the more you carry that negative story that it's too expensive, what you're really saying is, I'm not worth it. That's what you're really saying. Here's what you have to understand. 10 years from now, your money, that money that you think you're saving, won't mean shit. It will not mean shit, because what you'll be thinking about is all the opportunities you didn't take. Because here's the thing, when you're 10 years older, you can't go back. You cannot go back, ladies. Now is the time to be doubling down. When you're 10 years older, you would give anything to be 10 years younger and press the green button on let's go, let's do this thing. I'm going to figure out how to pay for all this stuff. And even those, look, I work with successful women who still at times struggle with the idea of what it's costing. But the reality is at some point, you've got to decide that the dream is worth it. You have to decide that the dream is worth it. Here's the other thing. When we're talking about what's expensive, think about being at a barbecue 10 years from now. And with other people's kids running around, you might bump into another woman who was in her 40s, 50s, trying to have a baby. And there you are 10 years later. And that woman in her 40s or 50s, her baby's 10 years old now. Where's your baby? Think about that. She had the courage to overcome this idea, it's too expensive. She had the courage to break free of the paradigm of it's too expensive. What was more expensive to her was regret. So get honest about where it's too expensive is living in your life. Because if you're living by that lie, what it is not telling you is the truth is the pain of regret is going to be unbearable, and it won't matter how many justifications you give yourself. You will be quietly looking at those women, those beautiful women in their 50s and 60s who now have 10-year-old children. You will look at those children and wonder, what if? You'll remember this podcast and be like, that crazy lady was right. I should have spent the money. And you know what? Who cares? Your retirement account, it won't fucking matter if you have nobody around you to share it with. There's nothing more priceless than those memories that you are going to be creating with this child. Chew on that lie. Now, the fourth lie that dovetails really nicely into the third lie. The third lie is it's too expensive, that's too much money, that's reckless, I'm crazy to be spending this, and all that other garbage. But the fourth lie, which is what we're really talking about, because let's go a level deeper. When a woman says it's too expensive or I don't have the money, what she's really saying is I'm not worth it. I'm not worth finding a solution to this problem. I'm not worth putting in the extra work. I'm not worth asking for help with this. I'm not worth figuring it out. Think about that. Think about that lie. Anytime you give in to the idea that it's too expensive and it's something that you really want, what you're saying is, I'm not worth it. That will slam the door shut to your nursery just as fast as any of these other things. Because at the end of the day, if you don't believe you are worth figuring it out, you won't. You won't. Women who get to the end of this journey with a baby in their arms, who are facing insane odds, age, statistics, diagnosis, they all at some level had to believe they were worth the time, the money, the effort, the discomfort, and perhaps even the mocking from friends and family who thought they were fucking crazy. But at the end of the day, when they are putting their kids to bed at night and they kiss their baby on the forehead, they will say, baby, you were worth it and I was worth it. You and I, baby, were worth it. And that is something that if more women understood, they would stop living by this low vibrational garbage that they are not worth it, things are too expensive, they're not worth the work, and we would be having a very different conversation on this journey. So that lie will, if unchecked and if not stopped, will slam the door shut on your nursery, because you will not go past it. If you do not believe you're worth all of this time, effort, and resource, you won't do it. And the last lie that we live by on this journey, well, it's not the last one, but it's in the top 5, because we tell a lot of lies on this journey. We tell a lot of lies, but the fifth one that will slam the door shut on your nursery is, this journey is too hard. This journey is too hard. It just got too hard. I'm exposing this lie because when it comes to this journey, as I was discussing earlier, everything about it is growth. You don't get a bikini body by not lifting weights, by not watching your diet, by not doing things in the direction of your goal that are very often uncomfortable and cause us to have to confront our own patterns, our own limitations, our own programming. Well, this journey serves up a giant hot pot of that shit. And the idea that it's too hard is ridiculous. When you get to a place where you're holding your baby, you will realize how simple it was. And frankly, ultimately, it's easy. When you decide that you know exactly how this story is going to end, that it's going to be you and a baby, you take what is hard. And frankly, the internal conflict is what makes this journey hard. We're constantly judging ourselves. We're making ourselves wrong for the emotion that comes up. We don't engineer self-care in this process. We torture ourselves over statistics. We tell ourselves we're spending too much. We tell ourselves, maybe I should just give up. Maybe I should just get the hint that this isn't for me. All of that is internal. All of that is just a pile of perceptions. We make this journey hard. But when you are in a place where you're all in and you're telling yourself, look, this is just part of the deal. I signed up for this because I want my baby more than I want my fear. I want my baby more than I want my regret. I want my baby more than I want this pile of money that I think I can't touch because only silly people invest that kind of money in having a baby. Like all of those lies make this journey hard. You make this journey simple by just saying, I'm all in, just like we talked about last week. I am going to do whatever the fuck it takes to get to where I want to go. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I don't care if anyone else believes in me. I will find and assemble the perfect bump squad of experts that's going to help me get to where I want to go, to think the way that I want to think, to stay focused, to stay in line with my vision, and to keep moving forward. This journey does not have to be hard, but the lie that it is completely distracts you from the fact that what's hard is getting to the end of your life and knowing that you fucking squandered it by not living your purpose. So I want to bring all of this together, ladies, because if you have not had somebody say this to your face in a long time, perhaps you've never had somebody say this. But part of the reason why you're here on this planet is to be a mom. Is it the sole reason? No, not at all, because you have a lot to give outside of that, okay? Part of why you're here is to be the mom that you were meant to be, whatever that means for you. You momming another life and opening up your heart, opening up the doors to this child, no matter how they come in, is meant for you. It's part of moving you forward in your own life. And whenever we say no to things that move us forward, we roll back. We are rebuking what is meant for us. And then we wonder why we're unhappy, unsatisfied, and just stagnant in our lives. It's not enough to keep doing the same thing over and over again. Our lives are for more life. Our lives are for expansion. And the longer you live by these 5 lies, the more likely you are to slam the door shut to your nursery. The smart woman kicks the door wide open and says, I live by truth. The truth is the desire in my heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for me, and I will not be fucking denied. Don't live by lies, mama. Live by the truth. This was meant for you. And if you want my help getting there, go to my website, www.frommaybe2baby.com, and apply for an interview there. My methodology has helped women around the world make their mom dreams come true, and their results speak for themselves. And if you don't have a mindset for success on this journey, baby, you got a gaping hole in your strategy. We regularly take women beyond the limits of fertility medicine. And if you are not leveraging the power of the mind-body connection on your fertility journey, you got a gaping hole in your strategy, sister. Let's fix that shit and set you up for incredible, just delicious and extraordinary success. Till next time, stop telling lies, baby. Change your mindset. Change your results.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.